I'm kind of partial to the drummer, but man, they do such a great job every week and just consistently turning out a level of praise that we should be thankful for. This morning, I'd like to talk to you. I got a situation going on in my house, and I'm just curious if it's happening at yours too, but everything at my house is shrinking. Man, my belt is shrinking, my pants are shrinking, my shirts are shrinking, my time is shrinking, the daylight is shrinking, my wallet is everything. And I know my wife can't be washing everything. So it seems like everything is shrinking. But this morning I want to talk to you about being set apart, the prayer of Jabez. It's not a new story. There's been a book written about it. 10 million copies was sold. It's a very popular book. And I know you've read the story, and it's the favorite book in the Bible. It's found in 1 Chronicles, and it's found dead off in the middle of a bunch of genealogy that we all love to read. And there's a couple of key factors that I want to point out first, though. You see, it says there was a man named Jabez, and he was more honorable than his brothers. His mother named him Jabez, for he was birthed in pain. Now, I just want to stop right there, and let's just find out exactly what kind of Bible character we're really talking about here. He said he was more honorable than his brothers. So to me, that says he took everything a step further. He was willing to put in the extra work. If he was doing the dishes, he probably wiped off the counters too. If he was mowing the grass, he probably washed the lawnmower when he got done. If he was at practice, he showed up early and he stayed late. Back in his day, it was probably more like when he got done milking the goats, he probably combed them too. He just went the extra mile in everything he did. And I think the reason he probably did that was the burden he felt from the pain that he had caused his mother. Now, it don't give us details on what the pain was from. I don't know if his mom weighed 90 pounds and he was a 14-pound baby. Or I don't know if his dad left and she was there by herself as a single mom and it was emotional pain. But I know it was significant enough that she named him Jabez, which literally means pain. So every time she called his name, she was reminded of what she went through. Have you ever caused pain to one of your parents? You ever done something stupid and regretted it? When something like that happens, don't you tend to overcompensate to try to make up for it? Don't you try to do good works to get back in good graces with your mom and dad? Well, I'm pretty sure that's what Jabez was doing. For whatever reason he had caused pain upon his mom, he felt the need to overcompensate, to be more honorable than his brothers. None of his other brothers were named Jabez, only him. So, it's a really short prayer, and I like to use the King James Version, but I'd like to read this prayer to you, and then I got 4 points from the prayer to get to 2 points about the prayer to get to the 1 point. I'm just kidding. I'm not really going to get into all it, but it's a short prayer, but for some reason, man, it's been really potent to me. So in 2 Chronicles 4:9 and 10, it's 2 Chronicles chapter 4, 9 and 10, verse 9 and 10. It's about halfway through the genealogy from Adam to Jesus. And the historian is just writing name after name after name after name after name after name. And then all of a sudden, pow, a quick little story about Jabez and then right back to the genealogy. So this is what he says. This is Jabez's prayer. Oh, that thou wouldest bless me indeed and enlarge my coasts, and that thy hand might be with me, and that thou wouldest keep me from evil, that it may not grieve me. So, for me to break it down for you, the first sentence is, oh, that thou would bless me indeed. How is that different than just blessing me? Well, Jabez is asking for more. You know, he was more honorable than his brothers, so he always took everything to another level. And right now, he's telling God, God, give me more. I don't want a little bit, I want more. And in order to have more, you're probably going to need to be set apart. And in order to be set apart, that means that you need to be broken away from comfortable. In order to be set apart, old habits are going to be changed. Careers put aside. New people will be encountered, and a higher level of responsibility will be expected. You see, Jabez wasn't saying, oh, Lord, fill my garage up with new Corvettes. I need a bigger house. Jabez was saying, bless me indeed, Lord. Give me more responsibility for you. He began to look different. That's why I got my hair cut. Your desires begin to change. Your ways of thinking begins to change. Material things lessen. People's needs increase. Basically, what Jabez is saying is, Lord, I have got to the point where I'm willing to do whatever you ask me, no matter what. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm willing to take it to that next level. The second sentence in the prayer was, and enlarge my coasts. Jabez is saying, I'm ready to expand my territory. Give me more opportunities to grow, to learn, and to share God's grace. We have opportunities every day, and we miss them. We're too busy. We overlook them. When is the last time you intentionally asked God, God, send me someone to minister to? Barbara Harris got it down to a science. She walks up and down the walking trail, intentionally asking God for someone to minister to, and he intentionally sends them time and time again. Penny Maddox does it at work, patient after patient, in some of the toughest times of their life. God, give me an opportunity to minister to this person. Most of us don't do it intentionally. It's usually awkward. It usually doesn't make sense. And then when he does do it, you're like, is this really the one? I'm not sure this is what it's supposed to look like. Kathy Truitt is the president of Chick-fil-A. And him and his son were clearing some brush out on some property, and they were burning the piles. And when they got to the last pile, they were using gasoline to burn the piles. They would pour the gasoline on there, and they'd wait about 30 minutes and then light it. But on the last pile, they didn't wait. They went ahead and lit it. The pile exploded, and it caused second-degree burns all over his body. So they rushed him to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he would spend some time there in treatment in the trauma center. And he asked the same questions that any of us have asked. Why did I do something so stupid? Lord, why did you let this happen to me? I can't believe this happened to me. I should have been more careful. And through his time and his stay, what he found out was God was expanding his territory. You see, what he thought was a traumatic event that he was never going to get over, he wound up ministering to patients, to doctors, to nurses. He met a whole new group of people he would have never encountered had he not got burned. Sometimes expanding your territory is not exactly what you ask for. The fields are ripe. All we lack is workers. Willing souls to give up their free time to reach the lost. The options are unlimited. A few years back, I was in a Bible study with Mark Adams and Rosemary, and at the end of the class, they asked me, "What will you do to make a difference?" And through that, I decided that I would do a prayer walk in my neighborhood. And I had these flyers professionally made up. We was going to meet at the entrance of the subdivision. I was going to put one in everybody's mailbox or knock on the door and talk to them. Each Saturday morning, once a month, we would meet at the entrance of the neighborhood, and we would walk through the neighborhood and pray for each and individual house. The key to that sentence is was. I still got the flyers. I never took the initiative to do it. It got set aside. I got busy. I got a little intimidated, if I'm honest. You know, what? I don't know all my neighbors. There's about 50 houses in my neighborhood. How will they respond to that? I kind of got overwhelmed. You see, the third part is that thy hand would be with me. I didn't ask God to go with me and hand out the flyers. I tried to take it on myself. There's a difference. In his prayer, he says, "Oh, that thou wouldest bless me indeed and enlarge my coast, that thy hand might be with me. Do not let me do it on my own. I can't do it unless you're with me." Now, it's probably just me. I'm sure y'all hadn't ever experienced, but I like to pray. I like for God to get me started, and then I like to take over. And then when I get in a mess, I like to pray. I like for God to straighten it out, and then I like to take back over. It's a vicious cycle I get into, and I think Jabez was aware of the cycle. So he just went ahead and called it up front, "Lord, that thy hand be with me." And when you get that eerie feeling that you're unqualified, that you're unworthy, that you can't do it, you don't have the resources, you don't have the time, that's exactly what he's calling you to do. Because he wants you to be uncomfortable. Because uncomfortable is where growth experiences the most. The fourth sentence is, "And that thou wouldest keep me from evil." We go about it wrong. You see, we allow it in, we invite it in, and then we try to battle the consequences of. TV is probably our biggest enemy. Electronics. You see, the battle could be won easily up front. The best way to battle evil is to avoid it. If you don't step into the arena, how can he fight you? If we protected what we watched on TV, if we was careful about what we listened to on our phones, if we was intentional about what we watched on the internet, the battles will be much easier. Instead, we indulge. It starts out slowly. A little profanity on a Netflix show, and the next thing you know, there's nudity and sex, and before you know it, you're doing things you wouldn't normally do. You're sneaking around, you're hiding, there's stuff on your phone that shouldn't be there. Now you're in a battle. You could have avoided that battle by protecting what you watched, by protecting what you looked at. Sin has become attractive and almost normal. But God has called us to be set apart. One of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life was changing my radio station in my truck. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I spend a lot of time in my truck. My truck's 1 year old, and it has 55,000 miles on it. So me and that truck, we spend a lot of time together. And when I'm in my truck, I like to play the radio, and I like to play it loud. And I have a guy that's worked for me for over 16 years, and he used to ride with me a lot. And I used to love 106.1 classic rock. And I still love the music. But I had the speaker under the seat and the amp, and, I had the music. And he hated it. He hated it with a passion. And we would butt heads because I would turn it up loud, and he didn't even like the music. But eventually, one day, he said, "Jeff, just for 1 week, I wished you would listen to 88.5. And I said, "I don't even know them songs. Have y'all ever listened to a radio and not know the songs? It's horrible." So I did it. For 1 week, I listened to 88.5. And during that week, most of the songs I had never heard, knew nothing about. But during that week, y'all know when you hear a song and you've never heard it before, but you like it? I heard this one song by Toby Mac called "Lose My Soul." This was probably 12 years ago. I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea that one decision would change the way I worship. I had no idea that one decision would change my mindset. I had no idea that one decision would change me so much over the course of time. Today, when the praise band plays the songs, I already know them. They can't play one new enough that I've not already listened to. And when you know the music, you can get a little more excited about it. I don't know about y'all, but I really enjoy worship. I love to come in and just lose myself in the music. One choice transformed my worship. You see, Jabez was laying it down like this. He said, "Oh, that thou wouldest bless me indeed. Give me a bunch, God, and enlarge my coast so that I can help others everywhere. That thy hand will be with me, we'll be side by side. I won't do anything without you, God. I need you with me, and protect me from evil, because I know the battle is coming, because I am partnering with you." And his last sentence is probably one of the boldest in the whole prayer. That it may not grieve me. You ever ask your husband to do something and it took him a little while to get it done? It usually takes me a couple of weeks to get to the request, and it grieves my wife from time to time, especially when it was take out the trash, because after a couple of weeks, it's all in the floor, piled around the can. Jabez understood this concept, and he just goes ahead and tells God up front. He said, "Do not grieve me. Do it now. Do it right now. Don't wait. I'm not a patient person. I don't want to wait. Do it now." Jabez wasn't shy. I'm pretty sure he had got to the point in his life where he was tired of being a burden, and he wanted to make a difference. This prayer to me tells me that I've been the problem long enough. I'm ready to be a solution. Father God, bless me indeed, and don't waste any time doing it. We're all familiar with the story. But are we bold enough to pray the prayer? Do you really want God in abundance? Are you willing to step out and do anything? Be careful, you may wind up right here. Because I promise that wasn't my plans. I had no intentions. You see, I've been battling with him for a long time. God said, I need you. I said, I'm uneducated. He said, well, how about leading the Methodist men? I said, okay, I can do that. Then he said, I need you more. And I said, I'm not worthy. He said, how about doing a devotional with you guys every Monday? I said, I can do that. He said, I need you. I said, I need you too. He said, do you really? He said, what about a Sunday school class? Would you be willing to teach that? I said, you're pushing the boundaries a little bit. And Pastor Terry, he asked me 3 times, would I take over a church? And the 3rd time, God answered for me. He didn't give me a choice. He said, son, I've protected you as you led the men. I've protected you while you did your devotionals. I have grown you to the point that I'm ready for you to step out and take over a church. And I'll just tell you, it's nothing like what I thought it would be. And not everybody's called to be a preacher. But every one of us are called to do more. We encounter people every day who are lost and have no desire to know God. And we ignore them, we overlook them, we're not bold enough to even have the conversation. You see, you can't beat it down their throats. There was an old song that said, they will know we are Christians by our love. And can you love anybody? Well, if you're going to be a pastor, you better be able to. And honestly, if you're going to be a congregant, you need to be able to. If the homeless man walked in the door right now, would you welcome him in? Even if he stinketh? He said there was a man that went to heaven, and when he got to heaven, he was in awe of the people that were there. He was like, man, how did y'all get here? They said, we were thinking the same thing about you. Many times, the most unlikely wind up being overqualified. If the praise band will make their way back up, I'd like to close with this one thought. Are you bold enough to pray the prayer of Jabez? There's a little book. It's a short book. Took me one night to read. But I've read it 3 times since. It's changed my life forever. And it's probably the most scariest book I've ever read. Because I don't know if y'all are familiar with the process, but when a preacher commits to full-time ministry, he's saying, God, I trust you completely with everything in my life. Are you willing to make that commitment? Thank you.